Hello and welcome to the Car Care Nut channel. In today's video, I want to share with you some unique characteristics of Toyota hybrids, some things that every single Toyota hybrid owner should know, some things that you might assume that they are problems or you're not sure how they work or whatnot. In today's video, I want to actually get into them, share with you some information that you should know as a Toyota hybrid owner right after this. The first item on our list here is the brake pedal feel. See, hybrids, they don't have brake-by-wire per se, but in a way they do. And the reason that is, hybrids have regenerative braking, meaning when you press the brakes, the motive force of the road is going to keep turning one of the motors and is going to generate and charge the battery. So they can't have just a normal braking system that just you press it, hydraulic pressure applies the pistons of the calipers, and that's that. So the brake system has an ability to switch between regular hydraulic brakes and regenerative braking, or it could do both. Let me describe that briefly so you understand why they have a strange brake pedal feel. So when you press the brakes, there is a sensor that's going to pick up how much brake force you're applying, how much force you're applying on that pedal, and how fast. Meaning, is this an emergency stop, or is this a light brake application, hard brake application, medium? That sensor is going to translate how much braking force is required. And based on that, the computer is going to decide, okay, we're going to apply this much regenerative braking, and then when we reach maximum regenerative braking, we're going to start supplementing the rest of the braking needs with the hydraulic brakes. It sounds like a very simple process, and in the early generations of hybrids, that was a very complicated process. In newer ones, things have gotten actually more simplified as computers gotten better, the actuators, the brake system has gotten more advanced. Things have gotten actually simpler. You would not believe that, but they did. So here is the thing with these, though. Even the 5th generation hybrid will feel the same way. You're driving it, you're coming to a stop, like a slow stop. All of a sudden, your foot's on the brake pedal. All of a sudden, the car just nosedives at the end as you're about to come to a stop. And then you'll feel like the brake is just strange as slow speeds coming to a stop. The reason for that is, folks, regenerative braking, when you get to a very slow speed, like let's say 5 miles an hour or less, it doesn't have enough force to stop the car anymore. So it switches to full hydraulic brakes. And that's why you feel that nosedive. This is normal with hybrids, folks. That is not a problem. Second thing about brakes, they last a very long time. Like your pads will last a very long time because you're not always using them. You're now supplementing that with the regenerative braking. The third thing is, which is just an additional bonus, if you want to test your hydraulic brakes on any Toyota hybrids as you're driving, if you put the car in neutral, regenerative braking disengages 100%. Now you're 100% using hydraulic brakes. So for example, if you want to check for vibration, noise, you want to just see how they feel, put the car in neutral as you're driving, press the brakes. Now you're using 100% hydraulic. This is probably the #1 question everyone will ask. What happens if the hybrid battery fails? Got weak, whatever the case may be. What happens when the hybrid battery fails? Here's what happens. First, every single warning light on the dash will light up. Christmas time. The second thing is, the car will still drive. You can start it, you could drive it. Business as usual. It's not going to just shut off and that's it. It's not an electric car, it's a hybrid. Let's talk about why they die. Batteries, in a very simple fashion, they have multiple cells within them that are connected in series, and that's how you get your high voltage. If one of these cells has a big variation, or all of a sudden dips, the voltage dips on that one cell, the computer will pick that up within a microsecond. As soon as it picks that up, it knows that one cell have kind of fell off, basically. It's going to disengage the hybrid system. It's going to put the car in a fail-safe mode, light up all the Christmas trees, set the codes that it needs to set, and it's going to try to avoid using the hybrid battery at all costs. Because we need to maintain some charge in this battery to start the engine. Remember, hybrids don't have starters. So what it's going to do is it's going to turn on the engine permanently. It's going to preserve that battery only to start the engine. Start the engine will do all the driving. So the car will be very underpowered because now you lost the boost of the hybrid system. Your gas mileage will be horrendous because now that engine, which is not meant to drive the car alone, is driving the car alone. Reverse will become a question mark because you cannot reverse down your entire block, because reverse in hybrids actually happens with the hybrid battery only. So it's going to severely limit your reverse operations and completely cut out the hybrid system, but the car will start every single day. And it'll keep running until the hybrid battery like completely fails or have 0 volts across the whole board. Then it won't start, nothing will happen. But that is very rare, folks. It's usually 1 or 2 cells that gets weak, not completely dies. And that's how hybrid batteries fail. Let's talk about the noises they make, because they'll make a lot of noises, strange noises you won't hear in other cars. The number one thing, which is the one that folks are always afraid of, as you're coming to a stop, you'll hear a whining noise. Like kind of an airplane whining type noise. Folks will associate that with a bad transmission, and yes, some regular automatic transmissions will make that noise when they're failing. That's not the case with hybrids, folks. They've always made that noise. That noise that you're hearing, that whining noise as you're coming to a stop, that's the motor being spun by the force of the road, as in regenerative braking. That is completely normal. The second noise you're going to hear, a buzzing, a distinct buzzing noise. Sometimes you feel it every time you press the brake pedal. You open the driver's door, when it's off, you'll hear it. That is the brake system priming. So remember, this brake system is not, your pedal is not immediately connected to it because you have regenerative braking, as we talked about. So every time you open the door, it's going to prepare for launch by pressurizing the brake system, because as you let it sit down, the pressure will drop. So if you hear that whining noise, you hear that buzzing noise, folks, that is completely normal. They will all do it. And that is part of the hybrid operation. What is the ready light? When you start a hybrid car, you'll see just a ready light flash a few times and then come on and stay on solid. That was added in the first generation Prius, and it just kept going. The reason for that light is, well, when you start a hybrid, the engine will not always come on. So that is your indicative that the car is on and running. Not just the key on, but it's not running. They put that there because if you leave this car in your garage, and that was in the olden days, of course, and you forget the engine shut off and you assume, oh, the car is off. If you see the ready light, it's actually not off. However, as things progressed, and of course in 2025 that is 100% the case, if you leave your hybrid running and you forget it, but the engine's off, you forgot, you didn't notice the ready light, after 1 hour it'll shut off on its own. I just wanted to mention that so you know, for general safety reasons. Another thing is, what is EV mode? So EV is electric vehicle mode. So EV mode will force the hybrid system to be in electric mode only, but there's a lot of kind of criteria of things that have to be met for that to happen. Most hybrids, you cannot go over 25 miles an hour in EV mode. You cannot really accelerate hard in EV mode, because remember, this battery is very small. This is not an electric vehicle. EV mode is meant for your around, like if you have a big garage or you're kind of in a residential parking lot or something, you engage EV mode, it'll cut the engine off and the car will be very quiet. That used to be at least the case. Lately, when you put these cars in EV mode, they are so loud with the proximity speakers, and that's what I mean by that is they'll alert people that your car is running and driving. Kind of took out the quiet mode out, but that's what EV mode, you can engage it, it'll shut off the engine, you can drive for very short distance and at low speeds without heavy acceleration in electric only. hybrids sometimes will rock back and forth on their own. This is something you need to be aware of. So the way the hybrid system is constructed, when we need to start the engine, we're going to turn MG1, which is the smaller electric motor. All hybrids in this configuration, series parallel, will have 2 electric motors. When that one motor starts the engine, the motion of that motor translates through the transmission to the other one, and it actually rocks the car back and forth. That is normal. It's not going to go driving because you have the parking pole that is engaged, locked the car. But if you don't have your parking brake on, every time the engine starts, you'll notice physically the car will rock back and forth. Folks, that is completely normal. That's how hybrids are. That is why you should not put your hybrid in neutral for a very long time. Because usually what's going to happen, when you put it in neutral, we no longer have that parking pole that locks the transmission, so the car wouldn't just wander off when the engine starts. So if the engine is off, it's going to run off the hybrid battery. When the hybrid battery charge starts to drop, the computer has no way of starting the engine safely, because if it starts it in neutral, the car will just roll forward or backwards, depends. So it'll just sit there and it'll start displaying a message. So that's really the reason you should not put your hybrid in neutral for like 15-20 minutes or more. That's not a good idea, actually, because it'll deplete your battery rapidly and then it has no way to charge it. However, I just want to mention a note on that. You go on a car wash, most car washes will have you put it in neutral. I mean, that's up to 5 minutes, the most. That's not an issue. But don't leave it there like you're parked waiting for someone to come out and you just left it in a neutral, didn't think a second thought about it. Always put it in park. And if you notice that rock, that is completely normal. Let's talk about the most important thing with hybrids, which is the hybrid fan filter. Folks, when we started the channel, this was one thing that I always told you about. Toyota hybrids have a battery. In modern ones, it sits underneath the seat. This battery, you need to keep it cool. Toyota hybrids are air cooled. They don't have like coolant going to cool the battery or whatnot. They have just a fan that cools it. But because this battery sits inside the car, you have people coming in and out, pets, items, whatnot. So the intake for that hybrid fan initially didn't have any filter. It was just an open vent, and then it got lint in it, and the fan will be blocked, and now the battery overheats and severely shortens its life. In the modern Toyota hybrids, they discovered that, and they started putting filters. Actually, this particular Camry has a filter right here. It's a paper filter. You want to make sure that it stays clear and clean, and you check it periodically, because this is what's going to determine how long this hybrid battery will last. If this is blocked all the time, and the filter is dirty, and the hybrid battery is overheating, constantly running hotter than usual, that's going to shorten its life. So as a hybrid owner, you should actually know about this, and maybe even do it yourself, because they're super simple. So what does the shifter do in your Toyota hybrid? Some folks will just wonder, why is that even a question? Well, I'm going to tell you this because some folks will stop at a traffic light turns, it's a long red light or a train or whatever the case. They'll put it in neutral, they'll put it in park. Oh, I don't want to put load on the transmission. Here's the reality, folks. That shifter, and this is going to shock you, that shifter does absolutely nothing but one thing. When in the case of ones that have an actual like physical shifter with a cable, it engages the parking pole. That's all it does. Nothing else mechanically. When you put it in park, it engages that parking pole. If you have like a Prius where it does just have a little electric shifter, it's gonna send a signal to engage a motor, which will engage the parking pole. That's all it does. It does absolutely nothing else, other than send a signal to the computer to indicate which one of these options did you select. Drive, reverse, neutral, park. That's all it does. Because in your normal automatic transmission car, let's talk about non-hybrid, when you're in drive and you let go of the brake pedal, the car will creep forward. The reason for that is because you have a torque converter. In hybrids, you don't have a torque converter. Did you know that when you stop in a hybrid, you're stopped at a traffic light, foot firmly on the brake pedal. Nothing is going on. A hybrid system is just sitting there waiting for you to lift off your foot off the brake pedal. When you lift your foot off the brake pedal, it actually intentionally applies power to the motor to create that creep that everyone is used to with a torque converter. So really, when you stop at a traffic light and the light is red and you're stopped, you're not using your battery, nothing is going on. It's just completely idling. Nothing is moving, nothing is being consumed. You could stay there and drive for 3 days and nothing will happen. It's the same as you're in park. Just your foot's on the brake pedal. I want you to know that. Reverse. Let's talk about reverse. When you put the car in reverse, all the computer will do is, okay, well, let's flip the polarity on the electric motor so we can start going the other direction. But it's not going to do nothing until you let go of the brake pedal. Then it will start applying a little bit of power to create that creep. The only one is, which we talked about, is neutral, which could hinder the operation of the hybrid system because now you're not locked in on the parking pole. That's about the only thing. Here's something you need to know about hybrids and refueling. Have you noticed that in your modern hybrid, when you press the fuel release button and they've gotten away from the levers, now they have buttons, that it takes it a couple seconds for the door to actually open. It's not immediate, and then it'll distinctly display a message on the screen that says ready to refuel or refuel ready. The reason for that is hybrids have a much higher emission rating because they are hybrids. And in order to achieve that high emission rating, they have a kind of a very sophisticated evaporative emission system that all its purpose is to trap the gasoline vapors because they are harmful to the environment. So what they'll do is they'll actually switch a valve that isolates the vapor. So when you open this gas cap, you don't have vapor coming out. There's something you need to know about that though. You open let's say you stopped at a gas station. You stopped at the pump, you open the gas door, and then the kids start screaming, I need to use the restroom, I'm hungry, let's go eat. You left it open and you went inside, we had a good meal, had a great time. Then you came out, you opened this, and you want to refuel it. Well, if half an hour have passed, that valve that opened to allow refueling have waited for 30 minutes and nothing happens, it's not going to allow the vapors to be here. It's going to close. And then when you go fill it, as soon as you put the pump, it'll just overflow and cover you with fuel. That is normal, folks. So I know that sounds like an extreme case, but it's a very realistic case and it's going to happen because we don't think about these things when you have kids screaming and we're on a trip and whatnot. So only open your fuel door when you are ready to refuel because you only have 30 minutes to actually refuel. I mean, that's plenty of time. Not every day you're going to wait 30 minutes. But I just want you to know you got to do that because if you let it 30 minutes pass, it's going to make a giant mess. And that is normal. That is not a problem. Folks, Toyota hybrids are really becoming the golden standard today, in my humble opinion. For example, this 2025 Camry, they dropped every single other model. They only have a hybrid. 2026 RAV4, they just announced. It's only hybrids, and that's going to be the norm coming up. I'll end this video by saying this. Folks, Toyota has been at hybrids for a very long time. In my opinion, they pioneered it. They didn't invent it, but they pioneered it. The Toyota hybrid system has come a very long way. We're in the 5th generation today, and things have gotten so much better. If you go drive a 1st generation Prius, we've come a long way. That's all I'll tell you. But I'll leave you with this. If you watch this video just out of curiosity, but you don't own one, but you're nervous about them, they're too complicated, whatnot, I think we've come to a point where they're less complicated than gasoline cars with turbos and this and that. They're actually keeping things simple. That's all I'll say. And I hope this video helped you just gain a little bit of knowledge about Toyota hybrids. Folks, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some of my videos. Until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.